All right, here for another 1 week. And it been 1 week since we did it?
Yeah, something like that.
We usually don't do it this quick. I think this is the second time we've done it a week out, but another episode. I'm pretty excited about some of the things we're going to talk about. Tonight we have Ron, Luke, and Ross. We're waiting on David to join us. Hopefully he will soon. We're fixing to go ahead and dive right into some of our first topics. Luke was not with us last time. Luke, you had some topics you want to talk about. First thing was sports moving younger and younger, pros and cons. So what do you mean about that? Go ahead and explain it.
All right, so let's just start with my personal background. So whenever I was a kid, it seemed like the year that I would get to do stuff or the year that I moved up to the next thing, they would move something down a year younger. So for instance, whenever I was in third grade, that's the youngest grade that they allowed to play flag football. So I did, as you know, of course I did. My older brother was doing it and I wanted to play. I was a young, sporty, athletic kid. And so I wanted to play flag football. So as soon as I could, I did. Third grade, fourth grade, and then fifth and sixth was together too. Well, when you had to wait until you were in seventh grade with the school to play tackle football. And that's one of the things that I was looking forward to the most. The year that we moved up, they started a fifth and sixth grade tackle football league. And so I don't know, it didn't bother me because I was getting to play too. I was in seventh grade. I could play tackle football, and that's what I did. But it just seems like sports are going younger and younger and younger. And I don't know that that's such a good thing. Like it.
Yeah. Well, so I actually had, which is crazy because I'm a little bit older than you, tackle football. Well, we didn't have flag football, but there was tackle football at third grade when I was in school. But I know what you're meaning. I don't feel like, especially girls, I don't feel like seventh grade girls should lift weights because they're still growing. Their growth plates and stuff can be damaged. Even some of the boys, I feel like certain weights, like some of them wanting them to really max out and things like that. And I get it, but I have two girls, and I'm not going to say the names, but I know that they've been training with this group for a long time. And I just think, I feel like that's wear and tear on your body. And I get it. There's people now that are rookies in the NFL. They've been playing football or whatever since they were 4 or 5, or they've been playing baseball and they've been lifting weights and stuff like that. And I get it, but I don't know. I feel like there's, like you're saying, I do think there should be a grace. I guess it's a grace period, you'd say, where you should be slowly involved into certain sports.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you talked about, physiologically that can have an adverse effect on you because you can injure yourself very easily at that young age.
Well, especially if it's a growth plate. Now that's damaged, and
yeah, it affects your playing performance from now on. It's the same. Well, I mean, this is a separate issue, but like a kid that wants to play, a kid that's a star athlete, and they get injured and they rush the comeback because they don't want to miss the rest of their season. Well, if I'm a seventh grader and I'm starting for the eighth grade on the baseball team, and let's say I get hurt, I tear a Achilles tendon, and I rush the comeback, not only did I jeopardize the rest of that season, I may damage it irreparably. And now, not only do I not get to play my eighth grade year, I may not get to play anymore. I may be done. And I think if we just, my other thing is that we keep doing that. We keep moving it younger and younger and younger because parents are pushing for it, and parents don't understand that your kid needs something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Like our high school, and maybe I shouldn't use this example, but it's not personal or anything like that. But let's say prom, right? For our high school, and you guys can chime in on this, but our high school, the prom is for 11th and 12th graders. So your junior, senior prom. It's put on by the 10th grade. I guess parents didn't like their kids having to wait for prom, and they started a parent organization that does a freshman prom. I just feel like you kill the specialness of something by rushing into it.
Yeah.
So prom was special because it was reserved for your junior, senior year. Well, now these parents are like, well, my baby's special and they shouldn't have to wait for that.
Yeah.
And so they create something that allows their kid to do it earlier. But it's the same thing with sports. Like your kid should have to wait. There's a reason why they didn't want us playing tackle football until 7th grade, because you're less prone to injury if you wait on some of those activities. And so,
Yeah.
like, I know football players, there's a lot of research that shows how much brain injury happens because of the helmet to helmet contact. Well, a fifth and sixth grader, the younger kids, they're not going to have as much. Not that seventh graders have any self control necessarily, but I remember in 7th grade, I was a little more reserved, or I knew how to control my body somewhat better. Like I wasn't just now hitting a growth spurt. I had been this size for a while, and so I could control it. And you watch watch the little kids in full pads run around the football field. It's almost comical. Like they're awkward as it is. Plus now you've stacked pads on them that are bigger than they are. Maybe they can't even see to make great hits, or they can't control the hit, or they don't know not to, this is not correct form, don't do this. Whenever we were young and we were learning to hit a baseball, it's not like my dad sat down and said, okay, Luke, you're now 5. Here's how we hit a ball. They just set it on a tee and they were like, all right, try to swing at it. They weren't, I don't know. It's not like, all right, let's watch some Ken Griffey Jr. video and here's the proper technique to really smash the crap out of a baseball. It was more about just making contact, like little basics.
Yeah.
And if you had thrown me into like live arm pitching baseball as a 5-year-old, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I would have been terrified to step up to the plate. I didn't like live arm baseball necessarily whenever I was old enough to do it, but there's a reason they don't do live arm baseball at 4 years old, because the kid can't grip the ball enough to control it and not hit the batter every time. At that point, you're just hoping to hit the inside of a barn.
So, like, my experience, so 2 things, and I'll let some others comment. So, like, my son, he just started live arm, but he's never done it before. So everybody in the league is kind of pitching balls, and pretty much you never have to swing. So that means you go from actually working on technique in coach pitch to now your technique is going away because you're not ever swinging. But like, if I take my son somewhere to get actually professionally trained in pitching lessons, and that's what I want to make sure they give him the basics. I don't want him teaching a curveball and screwball and all this different stuff, because I don't want his arm to get messed up at this young age. I would rather him to learn that stuff when he gets to high school. So Ron Ross, David just joined us. David, we are talking about kids playing sports and doing certain things in sports at a younger age compared to what it used to be, like doing tackle football at a younger age when it used to be 7th grade and things like that. So Ron, Ross, and David, do y'all have any takes on this, comments?
Well, we started football in 2nd grade, tackle football. So the league that Woodlawn was in was like smack over Camden, maybe Hermit. Nope, I don't know if Hermitage, Bearden, Star City, some places like that. And we had like I said, we went from second. It was 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. No, it was second. It was second, 3rd, and 4th grade, and then 5th and 6th grade. There were 2 different leagues, or 2 different levels. So, but I actually do agree that, like, I don't necessarily mind when a kid starts playing sports, but I do mind what they're doing when they're playing sports. Like, yeah, I would much prefer like second through sixth grade to be more about fundamentals than anything. So, teaching footwork, teaching the game itself, because that's going to make it when kids actually get to high school and start playing it on a more serious level. That's going to make it a lot more fun to watch, because you're not going to have people out there that are still, you're still you're still going to have people you have to teach every little aspect of the game. But, if you get the basic fundamentals down, then it's going to be a lot more fun to play and a lot more fun to watch. So I'm not against it. In fact, another thing, speaking of, when you start doing certain things, like in college, I took this martial art, and the martial art, because it has a lot of joint locks and whatnot, you weren't supposed to start taking it until, like, I think you were 13, in all honesty, because, of your body and everything. So, I fully understand, why. I get it. Like, I absolutely get it, and I do agree with it. I would much prefer, probably, instead of, doing things that consist of, body, like lifting and everything, I would much prefer, getting kids the cardio they need. So, teaching, well, that's where, teaching footwork and things comes in if you're going to play football, but things like soccer and basketball. But to be fair, when we were growing up, we only had like one basketball league at one point for kids. And I don't think it lasted a whole long time, because I don't remember basketball being like for kids under the age of seventh grade when I was in school. Like, I remember like I think kindergarten and first grade. But after that, I don't remember there being like a basketball league for elementary school kids, and until the church down the road where we live started doing one. And that, by the time I was already in high school. So yeah.
Ross, you got any comments about it or anything different to add?
Yeah. I don't know, if there's just a right answer to it. Me and Ryan, we started playing tackle football when we were in second grade. Ryan was obviously in fourth grade at the time. I started playing in second grade. He started playing in second grade. And, I don't know. There's no way to know at this point if there were any adverse effects from it, because it was such a long time ago. Ryan says there was adverse effects, but I couldn't tell you to what extent. Because there was kids on the team, coaches' kids, that were just buttholes.
Yeah.
And they would, we were going, purposely helmet to helmet just because they wanted to. They thought it was funny.
Yeah.
To put the crown of their helmet again in your ear hole. I remember one time I had a seriously bad headache, and this one kid I was in front of me, he was purposely headbutting me, like slamming his helmet because he thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Now, did that cause brain damage? I doubt it, but over its extended period of time,
well,
kids that age don't need that kind of contact. But now, we're having, you probably Google it at this point. And of course, the NFL, serious repercussions for concussions, the adverse effects and negative medical problems that, football players who have been playing for years and years and years since they were kids have serious brain injuries.
Well, you've seen that with dating from like the 90s and even further back, especially quarterbacks that played in the 80s and 70s. You hear about their issues. I think Junior Seau talked about, he was a linebacker, but talked about his issues and other things like that. There's been certain ones like Patrick Willis, some other like mainly defensive guys have talked about they're having too many issues. I know Troy Aikman and Steve Young, I think, not that they were super young, but they cut their career short just because of the concussions they got. they were getting, I think one of them got like 2 or 3 concussions in the same year. They come back from it a couple games later, boom, concussion. Come back later, and it's just horrible.
And I don't think I've ever had a serious concussion. But like I said, starting that young of an age when I'm not, no second grader. I mean, they're 10?
I'd be like 7 or 8.
7 or 8. Not even close to being anywhere near what we would call fully developed. In fact, what is it, the age of 25, where they say your brain is not even fully developed until the age of 25? Playing, and Randy, I even asked Kelsey, I was like, you gonna let Cheney play football? She said no. I said, why not? And she said, because I don't want him to get hurt.
Well, because if you think about it, if you look at him, he is the size of second and third graders. Just because he hasn't hit that growth spurt. And like Bentley is almost as tall as him, and Bentley's 5. And so him playing with people his age, he would just get crushed. Not saying that, he wouldn't make it, but it would be one of those things where we would probably wait till 7th grade and see where we're at. And again, I know 7th grade, if he doesn't really grow, it's just that's bigger boys from different schools. You start playing the Sylvan Hills and schools like that, people that go into those programs because those schools are kind of looked at with D1 prospects.
Yeah.
And Nick Smith and they were going, I know they played basketball, but still, Sylvan Hills has a pretty decent football program. And so it's got to think, well, what are we going to do about that? So, but then again, there's always golf. Maybe he'll take up golf.
Oh, heck. I mean, golf players make more than NFL players sometimes.
Well, it's, they said those scholarships for golf, they're out there.
Yeah.
So.
And that was something we were never afforded in high school. I don't think, Luke, you might have been able to play golf. Randy, you probably didn't have a golf team.
No, they made a golf team when I was working at Hermitage, just because they didn't want that family to move to Warren. So,
but my last point on this is, it's never a bad thing to start them off early. Obviously, with the basics, with the fundamentals, that's what you want to teach kids. There are those 1 in probably a million kids who just can pick it up, and they're bound for the pros one day. We see videos like that quite a bit on Facebook and YouTube, and look at this kid, he's down in Florida and he's running a 5'4" at the age of 10. That's 1 in a million kid, but or a kid who could pick up a guitar and play it
by memory or something.
There's 1 in a million, but you're right. Kids who start out in 7th grade, the first thing we did when I got in 7th grade, maxed out. That literally the first day we started doing anything when I was in 7th grade, coming to the basketball team, max out. Of course, it wasn't very much, but then start lifting weights. That's what they want you to do. And I wish the best thing that I think ever happened to me was Coach Shaw running us to death. Or we hated it at the time.
Yeah.
But that was what won us a district championship, because we had the cardio.
Yeah.
And for kids that age, that's what they need doing, fundamentals and cardio. You don't need super, super strong. Now, there's probably nothing wrong with lifting lightweight a little bit, but maxing out, so eventually you can have a 400-pound bench press. Prime example, look at Ronnie Coleman. Now, he destroyed his body for his physique. Mr. Olympia, 8-time Mr. Olympia. Now he's walking on crutches for the rest of his life, back bent over, all because to lift weights.
Yeah. Well, let's keep this question in mind. I would love to maybe look at some stats for later podcasts, whether it's next one or whatever. I'd love to see what's the chances of kids' bodies breaking down. Maybe we can look at that for a different podcast. Let's go ahead and move into our next topic. Luke, you said you want to talk about, and I know we've talked about this before, some of the rules, but stupid rules in sports. So did something come to mind? Did you see a stupid rule that made you think this is what we got to talk about, or what?
Yeah, it did. So we've talked about it before, like the basketball rule. You can't hit a player with a ball; it's a technical foul. But then, if you're going out of bounds,
You
you
throw it
can
off
grab
of
the
him.
ball and slam it into them.
Yeah, it's fine.
And I've seen it done. You want to talk about young kids injuring each other? I've seen it done with hate in the kid's eye. Like
Yeah.
they picked the person that they were going to slam that ball into, and they hit them as hard as they can. It's not like, oh, I just kind of flipped it into them.
Yeah.
But the one that came to
some
mind,
of it is they're just trying to throw it off of them. But then some of them, like, if that kid fouled me hard a while ago and I want to sit there and,
it's retribution. But no, the one that came to mind this time. So in live arm pitching, be it softball or baseball, it's a rule in both of them. So everybody knows how many strikes do you get before you're out? It's 3.
Yeah.
Unless,
Well,
and here's
I
the
hope
rule.
you do. There's some people out there that don't know what
3
a K
strikes.
means, but
3 strikes and you're out. Except, and this is the stupid rule, except if the catcher drops the third pitch, then it's not. I guess it's not a strike anymore.
Well, it is.
And the runner can run to first base, and if they make it there before they get thrown out, then they can stay on base. So to me, that's a stupid rule. You said 3 strikes and you're out. The pitcher threw a third strike and got you out,
Yeah.
but the catcher couldn't hold on to it. So now you get a free base.
Yeah.
I don't.
So you did
that's
your
a
job
stupid
as a
rule to me.
pitcher.
You still got 3 strikes. You're out. You
So
missed
I
it.
see that
Sorry.
too, because now, because the catcher ruined his job, you're suffering, which I get it. If I throw a ball and someone hits it, but then again, but anyway, that's the side point. But like, yeah, technically you could have 4 strikeouts in an inning or 4 outs in an inning.
Yeah. And that's a stupid rule. If we're going to say it's 3 strikes and you're out, then it's 3 strikes and you're out.
Like I've never
it shouldn't matter if the catcher misses the third one. That's a dumb rule to me.
I'm just kind of looking it up. Ross, I know you played a lot of baseball. So what do you think about that?
I think it's dumb. I don't really understand it either. Of course, being younger little leagues, I don't think they have that rule. I don't think you get that rule until you get to high school.
It's in Babe Ruth. It's in live arm. So as soon as you move from a tee or a machine, as soon as there's a pitcher throwing it, that rule kicks in.
See, we didn't have that rule when I was growing up.
Yeah, Cheney was in live arm, and it was.
But
used a lot.
We didn't have that rule. So obviously that's a rule that's been passed down. That came down. But yeah, that's just dumb. You had your chance to hit it and you didn't. So because the pitcher or the catcher, because I mean you see that a lot. You see them pitchers throw it in the dirt on strike 2, depending on what the count is, to get you to swing at it. You swing, you miss. Oh, I'm sorry, it didn't go in the catcher's glove, so you get to run to first base. If by some chance he overthrows it, you're safe, but the pitcher still gets the strikeout. You struck out, but you're on first base. Well, wait a minute. Now I don't know who came up with that rule.
Well,
it's just you're right. I mean, I believe that to be a dumb rule as well.
All right, David, what do you think? Did you know about the rule?
Yeah, I did.
So
I mean, I've seen it happen to me before.
So what do you like? What's your take on it? Do you think that's fair or not fair or what?
I mean, you had like 3 chances to hit the ball and you missed. I mean,
yeah,
that's not fair.
So it's
like a quarterback throws a perfect pass and the receiver misses it, right? Well, the quarterback threw it in position. You just failed to catch it. It's not his fault.
Well, so let's say the ball goes through the receiver's hand and the guy's fixing to intercept it and he drops it. So can you just say, well, we're going to give that to the receiver? Because but here's
to be honest with both failed the job, to be honest with you. You missed the catch. He failed to intercept the ball for a turnover. That's not, it's nobody else's fault except for them.
So here's what
throw a perfect pitch and the catcher misses the third pitch. for the strikeout, that's not the pitcher's fault.
Yeah.
That's the catcher's fault for
So
failing to catch the ball.
since you just, well, we've all kind of said this. So there's 3 reasons. I just Googled something. It was the first thing I came across. It says the drop or uncaught third strike rule is to limit unfair double or triple plays on the diamond. For example, if there is a runner on first base with less than 2 outs, the base is occupied and therefore the hitter does not become a base runner on a drop third strike. It says without this rule book in place, the catcher could throw the ball to second base and then have the fielder throw it to the first base.
Yeah, but he's got to hit it.
I know. So here's the second reason.
And it doesn't seem like it would save that. It seems like it would create that. Like he was out. So now
Well, that's my thing. Like it's out. Then
so now that
first and
runner
second-
is still on first, but
Yeah.
you put him in play for a double play.
Well, like here's my thing. So like half the time, like I saw it with 10-year-olds and I see it as 30-year-olds. You swing that third strike and they are thinking they caught it. All of a sudden you see them looking, they're like, oh, the ball's on the ground. They take off running and the guy either tags them or throws it down. So as a first base runner or second base runner, if you're kind of leading off and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, he caught it. And all of a sudden you start kind of going back. You're like, oh, he missed it. And you start running. That means your momentum's not there and you could be thrown out easier. Like you're talking about, that kind of creates it. Like here's the second reason. The drop third strike is to confirm a catch, which is the same for any fielder playing defense. So this makes sense because the fact that if you hit it to outfield and he drops it, the runner gets to go. But here's the thing. That's either an error or it's a hit. But the thing is, here's what the third reason says. The batter does not receive a hit credit because they struck out. So because the guy dropped the ball, they still struck out, but they don't receive a hit. But yet, if the guy drops messes up in the infield or the outfield, the guy's going to get a hit or error. There's going to be something right there. There's not going to be a catcher error. It's just going to be a strikeout.
That's my thing, is that the ball wasn't even in play anymore. Like it's a dead ball once the catcher has it in his mitt. So you missed it. It's not like the catcher had, like if it's a pop fly and the catcher misses it, that's not the same thing. Like he had a chance to field it and he bobbled it and now it's an out. But that pitch, that's what's creating the live ball in the first place.
Yeah.
So if the batter swings and misses, it's just a strike. And it doesn't matter if the catcher drops it or not. The batter swung, that's a third strike. You're out, buddy.
Yep.
I hate that for you. I really do. But I mean, I know how hard that is. You hate to strike out, but you had 2 other chances to hit that ball. Why didn't you swing at one of those?
Yeah.
Or why didn't you make contact?
This goes
then?
up with my being able to spike the ball, but it's not intentional grounding. Like I've read a
Yeah,
rule
that
about it.
bothers
Why
me
it's not.
too.
Like it's going to be up there. Maybe we should like have a podcast top 10 of stupid rules. Like maybe we should do that. Like Dude Perfect does with their top 10 stuff. We need to just have top 10 stupid rules, top 10 cookies.
We need to
things
rank
like
them
that.
for sure.
So start thinking of that, guys. All right. We need to do something like a lightning round and talk about some things very quickly. Real quick, I don't want to hit on this too long because we got so many other topics I really want to talk about. And I'm just going to say this real quick about Brittney Griner. If you don't know who she is, that's fine. If you did the research, that's great too. Brittney Griner, former Baylor Bear, tall girl. She could block. She was great in college. Went to the WNBA. She's been pretty good there. She can dunk, do all this stuff. She was one of the people to kneel, talk bad about the United States during that whole kneeling of the flag and the national anthem, stuff like that. Pretty much was against the United States and our cops and our government, all that junk. So now she's gotten in trouble, if I'm not mistaken, somebody can correct me, for having some kind of drugs, I think marijuana, in her bag when she was in Russia. Confiscated, she's been locked up. Well, the government hasn't really seeked to go get her until here recently. I think they're trying to do a trade between her and another guy who's been there for a couple of years. But yet, everybody, all the sports athletes are supporting her. The All-Star game for the WNBA, they're all wearing her number, things like that. And that's fine. They're supporting her. And that's what, as a team, you should do that. So my two things about it is you were against this country, but yet you want the country to come release you. So that's my take on that. You were like, no, I don't want my government because my government doesn't support black people and we're racist. And, at the time, there's Trump and Trump's a racist, yada, yada, yada. And now, supposedly they say, well, Joe Biden's not a racist, but yet he's not fighting for you. So the country you didn't like isn't fighting for you and you want them to fight for you. So the other flip side of it, I think I saw LeBron James or somebody say, if I was Brittney Griner, why would you even want to come back to the United States? They're not even fighting for you to get you. So that's like my two things there.
It's kind of a win-win if you're her, because number one, you hated the country in the first place, so now you're not in the country. And number two, like you just said, why would you want to come back if you hate it so much?
Yeah, so maybe get released and be like, I'm just moving to Canada. I'm just going to move to Belize or something. So, but does anybody have any talks about that? That was just my kind of quick rundown. And I don't know if anybody knows about what's going on with Brittney Griner.
I won't get too political or anything like that. But my whole my opinion on it, well, I mean, if we really wanted to go into this, the First Amendment allows her to speak against the government, but that's not really what I have to say. What I have to say is this.
But then again, hold on real quick. Even my students say, well, I have freedom of speech. You have freedom of speech, but that doesn't
mean you
also
have the right to remain silent.
But you also cannot just speak your mind. Like, I'm not going to get too far into this real quick, but like,
there are consequences.
But like, there's a Black History Month, there's a Pride Month, there's all these different months. There's not a white male month. Where's my month? If I want to be like, I'm not like this, and I have plenty of people out there to know I'm not racist and stuff like that. But there's nothing that says, where's my Christian month? Where's my Baptist month? Where's my Methodist month? Or whatever.
White straight male month.
Yeah, where's that month? Because if I said that, and if I speak my mind as a Christian in school, I get pretty much, you're going to get fired. But yet then again, everybody else can say, I'm gay. You have to represent me. I'm Black. You have to represent me. All this stuff. Because if I say white lives matter, people want me hanged. So like, I can sit there and talk about the government, but somebody like me, I can get in serious trouble. But that's beside the point. But anyways, go ahead, Ron.
I think what you're saying is like, we have freedom of speech, but it's limited to what your opinion or my opinion.
Well, especially for certain people. And I feel really like, and I'm like, I get it. There's cops out there that just totally abuse things. There's teachers out there abuse things. And there's but like I said, that's a different subject for a different day. But I just, we can have history months and I get it. But if I say something about, well, the first white person to do this, and then the people are going to say, well, you're racist. That's what happens. So anyways, Ryan, go back to Brittney Griner.
But anyways, my biggest thing is, regardless of what she's done, she is a U.S. citizen, and we're in a proxy war with Russia right now. So my patriotism ramps up to nth levels, and I don't want them even attempting to try to leverage her on us at all. As we, beat them up with Ukraine. So get her out. It's like it's a no American left behind situation, in my opinion, over there. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
I get it. I want her out because she is USA and stuff, but it's but
you almost get what you deserved here. Like, you brought about your own demise. Now I'm with y'all, like USA all the way, and we protect our own.
But they really haven't even tried. Well, I don't know.
Well, that's probably, not to get political, but that's probably because Biden forgot she was even there.
But all right. Any other comments?
Trying to think if I had anything else on it. It's not really like I don't have too much on it. I mean, I don't even know. I think she actually broke a law over there. So, I mean, that's kind of like, well, you shouldn't have done whatever you did in the first place.
Well, it kind of goes to the whole Richardson track athlete that, did the marijuana, but yet there's an Olympic rule of not to do marijuana. And everybody's like, well, we got to support her. Da, 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 da. It's a rule. It's a rule.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of our podcasts lately. And that's beside the point. And so I've been listening to a lot of stuff that we talked about and a lot of stuff that we've all said. That was one of the podcasts I listened to today was, you knew the rule, whatever you can do in your state, your home, your city, even in let's say the league of track running, the Olympic rule is you can't do this. You can't have any, and so that's kind of like her. You should have known, like, crap, I can't take a lot of the basic stuff on an airplane. I can only take like this little tube. Like Luke and I went to San Francisco, this little tube of shampoo. I bought a drink in the airport.
Had to finish it before we could get on the plane.
And the fact that I didn't buy it on the other side of the gate, I had to throw it away as we were going through through the metal detectors. But if I would have waited and bought it 30 seconds later on that side, and I get it, it's just like a kid coming into school with an open container. I didn't see them open that, so they could have poured something in that Sprite, and now I've got to tell them throw it away, or they got to finish it right there for the enter, whatever. So I get it, but it's like, rules are rules. So, all right, we're fixing to jump to NFL. We've got about 3 or 4 topics really quick. I want to hit. Kyler Murray. Ross, I know like I said, if you want to sit on this one real quick, that's fine. So Kyler Murray, quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, he has been hot topic recently. He had a contract where it said that he had to watch so much film study, and a lot of people have been curious about that. So here's my take. I haven't really looked in, because somebody said there was an update and what the contract really meant, and they changed some things up in recent days, and I haven't looked into that. But we don't know what Ben Roethlisberger's contract was really like. Everybody's contract could be this detailed, and somebody just happened to slip this out about Kyler Murray, and now it's a big deal. But every other quarterback or receiver could have had something like this. I look at it as, if he's the only one that's ever had this in his thing, that he's got to do this to be able to get his money, is the fact that he thinks he's all that in a bag of chips. And he doesn't watch film, and he thinks he's too good for it. And that's the reason why he hasn't become that elite athlete, because he starts getting people watch film on him and know if he does this, he's going to run to the right. When he does this, he throws to the middle. When he does this, he's going deep. When he does this, he's going to hand the ball off. Because Ryan, I remember you in high school telling old famous Red Parker, I remember you telling him when this team did something, they were fixing to run the ball. When they did this, they were fixing to go to the left. I remember you telling me you had those conversations with him on the sideline. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember you telling me that after a game. And Red Parker caught on to it. Not saying that you knew more than him. His mind is going 20 different directions in the middle of a game, and I know how that is. And so it might have been that situation where he's like, yep. And then ended up winning that game. So, like, what is y'all's take on it? And if you don't know anything about it, that's fine. So, Ryan, have you looked into that?
Watch the tape, Kyler Murray. If you ever listen to this podcast, watch the tape. That's all you have to do. That's literally all you have to do. All you have to do is watch the tape, study the teams. You haven't done anything so far to warrant your contract. You haven't won an MVP. I don't even think you've been in the running for an MVP. Y'all haven't won a Super Bowl. You haven't even been in a conference championship game yet. So you get a giant contract, and then you go off and you complain about, or someone complains about, or you have everyone around you in the world complain about the fact that it's like, oh, that's not fair. But you're not good. You're not that good if you're not watching the tape, if you're not studying the game, if you're not trying to figure out how to win. Now, your coach also is bad. No one knows why he's actually an NFL head coach, but that's beside the point. Uh, but watch the tape. That's literally all you have to do. If that
What-
means you have to sit down a couple hours a week, or, well, more than a couple hours a week, and watch football, which should be a lot of fun for you, then do it. Earn your freaking paycheck all the way through, and continue getting beat by the Rams and
Well,
the 49ers.
it makes me
Not
think,
Seahawks though.
does he also have to turn in like some kind of homework showing that he's watched this film? Is he back in grade school where he's got to be like, so what do you see with this defense? And he's got to be able to identify it. And if they go, nope, you missed. They were fixing a blitz right there. You missed that whole thing,
Yeah.
Is it that because he's not picking up on what defenses do? Is he doing too much improv on the field that we don't know about? Like I said, I really want to know more, and I know they're not going to get into it because Kyler Murray they're not going to try to name his weaknesses. So
The thing is, this is what tells on him the most. The thing is, last year we had this brilliant podcast, which I think should be actual required watching for any football players, especially, I don't know if they're going to do it this year, but this brilliant broadcast with the Manning brothers. And they would bring on these winning quarterbacks. And what were these winning quarterbacks telling you? They, like Tom Brady and Russell Wilson, Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. Josh Allen, he's not there yet, but he's gotten a lot better. What were they sitting there saying? They were talking about, it's like, oh, what were you doing before this? Oh, I was watching tape. Or they would have to get off and it's like, oh, I gotta go study. So you're not special. You're not special. You don't get a pass. If you want to win as a Cardinals quarterback, watch the tape. That's it. That's literally it. You have it. It's given to you. It's not like you have to go and film it yourself. Watch the tape, get a paycheck, win football games, and you will get more money as a result. Probably undeserved, but you will get more money as a result.
David, what about you?
I think it's just outside distractions.
Like, what do you mean?
him.
Oh, you mean
Alright,
like
so-
him not being able to focus on the game?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, like because just like Anthony Davis and other sports athletes, they have joined esports, so it's kind of a distraction. And like now, Kyler Murray is part of FaZe Clan, so it's an outside distraction. But also, how do we know he's not studying tape? We don't know that. We're not in his personal life.
Well, that's true, but it's
No,
like,
No,
why
wait,
would
he
you-
said it.
Yeah, but
Have you?
like, they wouldn't put that in a contract and make it that serious.
Yeah, I know, but like,
No, I
for
think there's
any
actually a
athlete, you go in there to study film.
I think there's
I understand where like it was like, yeah, we need you to do extra studying. We need you to actual study. Okay, yeah, but I'm not going in there blind, and go, hey, we're gonna win a football game, and not know exactly what the heck we're doing.
there
Well, the
is
thing
a
is, but
quote
the
from
thing
him
is,
saying that he doesn't watch the tape.
Like David, people have said, like in high school, if I have somebody that's fast and I'm a good quarterback and I can just out throw them or hit, I could sit there in certain leagues in high school and just be really good and then go to college. If I just get in a good system, I can just eat up the numbers. Like, look at all these quarterbacks that throw for 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, and do that and, hold the touchdown records for a career and yardage for a career, but yet they were a third string quarterback because they don't know how to read defenses. You know what I mean? So they might be seeing something where they thought he is not getting better. He's not coming to our film studies. And I know, the other day they did remove the independent study from their clause, but I think it's because they're not wanting to make a big deal about it. So, Luke, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I fully agree with Ryan. If I'm a professional, let's say I'm a teacher, and I know that I have to get 60 hours of professional development to keep my paycheck, to keep my job, to make sure that everything's on the up and up. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get my 60 hours of professional development. You know why? Because I love being a teacher and I want to continue doing it. So if it's in my contract that I have to continue doing that, or if I have to meet certain expectations, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the reason that teachers have to get professional development and the reason that Kyler Murray has to watch game film is to be not just a quarterback. They don't want just somebody to fill the roster. Like, man, we don't have anybody in that position. We got to put somebody there. He'll do.
Yeah.
No, they want somebody who's going to lead the team and be elite. And you can't do that if you don't know your team, the plays, and what the defense is going to do. If I had a cheat code for that, for football, and I knew that if I could go in there and I can look at where players are set and who's moving and who's sitting still, what they're going to do, I would do it. Because now I know, okay, if the left tackle moves, I've got 3 seconds to get rid of the ball. But if he stays still, I've got 7 seconds to get rid of the ball. Why not? That's an advantage for me. And so watch the dang film.
Yeah.
Like, learn what the other defenses are going to do, and it makes your offense better.
Yeah. Yeah, like, that's my thing. I don't know. I said it wouldn't be there if there wasn't an issue somewhere. So, all right, staying in a couple more things before we move on to world of movies and stuff like that. So, saw this the other day. So Davante Adams, if nobody knows, he's went on and he's with the Las Vegas Raiders. He is playing with his college quarterback, Derek Carr, and he left Aaron Rodgers. He made a comment saying, anytime you change quarterbacks, now, everybody listen. I want you to listen to this closely. Anytime you change quarterbacks from a Hall of Famer to a Hall of Famer, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. Like, I don't know what he's thinking. I get it. He's trying to, like, you're not going to say, well, our quarterback sucks. Or you're going to say, well, he's not Aaron Rodgers. Like, you're not going to say that. This is the guy you develop a relationship for however many years you were in college together. You know, just like Tyreek Hill, he's talking about how, well, if I had to go with an arm, I'd go with Tua. Of course you're going to say that. You're not going to sit there and dog out your new guy. You're not going to say, well, if I had to choose a team, I'd love to stay in Kansas City. You're going to say, well, I want to blossom with Miami, da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, you're going to say those things. But I think, I don't know. Like, David, I'm going to start with you because this is your boy, or you used to be boy. So he's saying that Derek Carr is a Hall of Famer. And before you say anything, again, I heard Luke make this comment when we were predicting teams to go to the playoffs and stuff. You know, the Raiders were one of those teams where they were going to be crap or they were just going to get hot. Like, there was no in between. So what are your thoughts about Aaron Rodgers' comment?
I mean, Davante's comment?
Yeah, about Aaron Rodgers, sorry.
I have no comment on that.
Like, he's comparing, like, we know Aaron Rodgers is probably going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's saying Derek Carr is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
I don't think so.
Maybe he's making a prediction for this season too. Like, he just feels good about it. And so he knows the only thing that Derek Carr really needs to seal his bid into the Hall of Fame
is
a winning season. He needs a Super Bowl ring.
Man,
And you're talking about the elite, one of the top 2 receivers in the NFL. And if that's all Derek Carr needed, because we all know he's got an arm. Like, Derek Carr is not a bad quarterback. Guy can throw the ball. He can read defenses. He is skilled in that position, probably because he does his homework and watches game film. But but if all he needs is some good targets, well, he's got that weapon now. So maybe he's just making a prediction on, you know, this season's going to be great and Derek Carr is going to get in the Hall of Fame and we're going to help him get there.
Well, Like Derek Carr has had pretty decent seasons. Like his first season being a rookie was pretty good. He did good in 15. He was really good in 16, and then he had 2 average years. And then these last 3 years, now last year he ended up throwing a lot of interceptions, but he's still been, I think he was a leader in yards for a while. And he set his career by over 700 yards career for yardage. So but go ahead, Ron.
2 things to say. One, I actually like Derek Carr as a quarterback.
I do too.
I think he's I like Derek Carr as quarterback because I think he's athletic. I think he's actually good at this position. And he is by far the definition of a team leader, which is what your quarterback is. Derek Carr deserves to go into the Hall of Fame just because of last year. I mean, the storm of bad after bad after bad that happened last year, and he managed to lead his team into the playoffs. It's just that alone should be Hall of Fame worthy. You lose your coach because of things he said in the past. Then, and this is tragic, and I'm not making light of this, then your up and coming, probably star wide receiver, goes and does a stupid thing and kills a person because he was drunk driving, drunk driving, speeding, and kills a person. Then I think there was like a couple other players that wound up getting arrested last year. I mean, it was just by and large, it was a horrible season for what's going on personally behind the scenes of the Raiders locker room. And on top of that, I'm pretty sure the owner of the Raiders just grew out of bacteria one day. Like the whole family, they weren't created. They were just bacteria that became life and everything. So just last year alone, Derek Carr deserves to go into the Hall of Fame, and maybe that's what Adams is saying.
Well,
from one guy to the next guy, from one Hall of Famer to the next Hall of Famer. But I actually do believe that in the right system, especially if this coach that they've put in charge, who is it? It's Josh McDaniels, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the Raiders head coach?
I don't know.
If it's Josh McDaniels, they'll win a Super Bowl on cheating alone.
So here's the thing with Derek Carr, because then you have to think, is his stats enough? He's been in the league for 8 years. He's already 30.
Yeah,
he's already 30.
McDaniels.
So he's got a couple more years of his prime.
And I don't think he's suffered any injuries, has he?
No. But including last year. Well, let me stop right there. His second, third, and fourth year, he made it to the Pro Bowl. But in those years, he's had 2 winning seasons. One year he went 8-8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of his 8 years have been losing seasons. And that was, rookie year, yeah, like I said, you're going to struggle. But he's won 3 games, 7 games, 6, 4, and 7 in those losing seasons. His best year was his 3rd year, and he went 12-3. And then last year he went 10-7. So, and I know Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl, but he'd been there. He was there, held the touchdown records, passing records. So it's one of those things. If Derek Carr cannot get his team winning, then he's going to have to be statistically good, kind of like a Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson was on the lines just like Barry Sanders, and they're Hall of Fame worthy. So
I also think, because I really do believe that the AFC West is very much potentially the best division in the AFC next year.
Well, probably.
and kind of think that any one of those teams that comes out and like, especially if they win a Super Bowl, whoever, that whole team is Hall of Fame eligible, because I mean, it should be a bloodbath. Now, I don't want it to be one. I want the Broncos to win it all, but because you've got great defenses on at least three teams. I'm not so sure about the Chiefs, but you have great offenses on all four in all four teams. So, and I think probably the heavy favorite to win it next year, it feels like it's going to be the Buffalo Bills for the AFC, not to go to not to win the Super Bowl, but I feel like it's the Buffalo Bills as the favorite to go to the Super Bowl next year. I could be wrong about that. But it seems like every time I hear talk, it's them that's up there.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So real quick before we move on, last time we talked about the Madden 23 football rankings, and what we thought about them. Do you know that they have set up a hotline with complaints about the ratings, and they received over 1,000 calls on the first day?
Honestly, that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. If they set up a hotline about complaints about their game, like, it would be in the millions.
Right.
I haven't even played Madden since, I guess last year, but
I get it. Nobody's going to be happy because they're going to, especially like their favorite teams, they're going to be like, well, this receiver should be the best because he had 1,000 yards, and I get it. People are going to complain, just like the, all the little protests and stuff they send to the government, and they got to get so many signatures and things. And, it's some of the silliest things, but I just thought that was something to throw out there that, it's crazy whether they're complaining about that person shouldn't be a 98 or that person should be higher than 85. Like I said, Jamar Chase made that comment, and I still thought it was funny that Tom Brady made a joke that he didn't even make it on the game in his second year. So,
I know it matters because everyone plays, or a lot of people play online now, but if they weren't playing online, I'd be like, it don't matter. You can just go in and just mess with their stats.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you can just update it. So
if I want to play, some random quarterback who's doesn't even have a picture on Madden, then all I have to do is just go there and play with his stats, and all of a sudden he's better than Tom Brady. In fact, He's won the starting position over Tom Brady.
All right. Going to talk about some movies.
Okay.
So
next podcast, we're going to talk about college sports.
Yes.
We need to get
into that. That's coming up.
On the list, and I can't wait. I love college sports so much.
So 20th Century Fox made an announcement the other day that their contractual obligations to the actors in the X-Men franchise have carried over to Disney and are in effect. And it says that that Marvel cannot recast or enter production on a film that includes roles held by the recent principal actors of the X-Men franchise. What?
I think if Disney wants to, they'll probably work around that. To be honest,
how can you work around it? Because it's in the contract that if you're going to make an X-Men movie, it has to be one of these people.
Probably buy them out of their contracts.
I say that's great.
I
understand there's a loophole for everything, but the thing is, if it's in the contract, you can't make any kind of X-Men movie. You can't even say it's from a different multiverse.
I'm good with it.
Like
Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. You got Patrick Stewart as Professor X. You got Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Well, he's going to be Deadpool no matter what.
Yeah, he is Deadpool. But no, I got no beef with that. Like, all of the principal characters were well chosen actors and actresses too.
So basically, they can
So I like it.
recast if it's a cameo, kind of like
if it wasn't a major player. Yeah.
Well, that's not X-Men. Never mind. Okay. Well,
The thing is,
was the original, Patrick Stewart was Professor Xavier in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
But so which X-Men? Which character do you want? McAvoy or Stewart? These timelines are so confusing.
Well, those are not timelines. Well, that is a timeline, but one of them is the younger version.
You catch the joke though.
Yeah.
my thing is like
McAvoy or Stewart.
you could probably do something to like buy out some of these contracts if they even care. Some of these people might not.
You have to agree
care.
on the buyout.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
But
if they don't agree on it, they go, no, Hugh Jackman is going to be your Wolverine.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to complain about.
I don't really think he, unless he just wants something to be done, I really don't see him. I think if you called up Hugh Jackman right now and said, hey, we're thinking about casting someone else's Wolverine, which I think he's pretty much said, like, I know it's going to happen. So, I don't think he's probably going to care all that much and would probably just let him do it. But like, let's take some of these younger actors that were in the couple last X-Men movies. They're good actors.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just, put them in a different setting and just let them be the X-Men. You don't have
to. The ones in the recent X-Men movies are also the younger versions.
Yeah. So it's like, just let them be the X-Men. Now, here's my thing. This is all I care about the X-Men. All I want is the Wolverine suit on a body in a movie for Marvel. That's all I want.
Like the yellow and blue one?
The yellow and blue one or the yellow and brown one. I don't care. I want to see Wolverine in Wolverine's full angry short king glory. Or Queen, hey, I'm okay with them bringing that other girl back in just to let her play X-23. I'm okay with it. I want it.
I don't understand why why are they making a huge fuss about that? I mean, I guess I do, but if you can negotiate the contract, whatever, and either allow them to recast and you get a percent of it, you're going to make millions of dollars. Because that's what everybody wants to see the X-Men.
Well, I guess it's to an extent, it's kind of like with, and I know that Ben Affleck's supposed to play Batman in the new Aquaman movie. I think it's just people don't want to see a fourth Storm or three Wolverines from now on,
Yeah.
That because if we just change the look of characters, because, even Cassie from Ant-Man, it's a different character than what we saw in Endgame. And some people are throwing a fit about that because, like, why didn't that girl just become it? Why did you even cast her to play that girl if you're not going to move her on? Especially when you're bringing, people back from like Iron Man 1 to play in this role. And, they were just cameos or just those little smaller roles. But, like, why did you have them play if you can't, just move on from it with having the same person? So I don't know all about it. I just saw that statement. It was posted out there. Like I said, I'm kind of with Luke. I'm fine with it because of the fact that, and I know, and I think it's only for like so many years, and after that you can move on because certain people are going to move on. Certain people are going to retire. Certain people are going to say, "I'm just done with the superhero movies," and I get it. So, but David, what do you think?
I didn't know about this.
But what do you think? Like, is that fine with you, or are you just kind of ready to see a different Wolverine? Or,
I mean, I heard they were trying to recast for
well,
Wolverine.
yeah. Well, it's also like you hear all the time, like, well, they're looking at trying to bring Tony Stark in a cameo or Chris Evans to play this role. Or, all these characters that are gone.
Didn't Chris Evans say he doesn't want to play Captain America? He wants to play like the Human Torch from that timeline.
Well, that's what they say, but then again, they said that he's open to being in another movie and stuff like that. Whether that's like for 10 minutes or what, but I've heard something about Robert Downey Jr., that he was going to play Iron Man, so and something else. But
I mean, I'm fine with it.
so has everybody seen Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan? Okay. Well, you're the only one that didn't give me a head nod or anything. So what do we think about that? Luke, what do you think? Luke, you're muted.
I don't want to be muted.
Okay.
I thought it was a really well done film. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Like I thought it was cool to get to see kind of all the different. It's almost like Spider-Man's Into the Spider-Verse. I know that was an animated film, but it was kind of the same idea. And so I thought it was done pretty well. And it was a really interesting take on it, because you kind of wonder, okay, well, if that's happening in that universe, well, then how does it affect our universe and our characters from that universe? Like John Krasinski playing Reed Richards.
Yeah.
In that universe, is he gonna be the Reed Richards?
Yeah.
In the upcoming film? So does it take place in that universe, or does he come to ours? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of interesting directions that film kind of opened up.
And I'm kind of curious on, you had Captain Marvel, and those other characters that are part of the Illuminati. So I'm kind of like, are they all from different? Like, how many different multiverses are they from? Are they from their own multiverse? Like, are they from the one where Patrick Stewart is Professor X, or where are they from? Because obviously they're not from the same one that we've all known, besides Patrick Stewart, because we've seen him as Professor X.
My understanding, that was their universe.
Where they were at in the Illuminati?
Yeah, that was their universe.
So that means all those characters which I guess if you've seen some of the stuff, but like that means Jessica Alba and them are in their own thing. And even the Captain Marvel we know now, that we've kind of based this whole Marvel universe on, is not the basic one that we've seen, where we've seen Patrick Stewart as Professor X. So that's kind of like the odd man out one that we've grown up with, seeing that first comic book movie of X-Men come to life before the MCU started.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about all this, because whenever seeing Loki and they killed the guy at the end, the timelines went crazy, and it does show you how powerful Scarlet Witch is. Like, she probably could have killed Thanos in a snap, and she really wasn't even Scarlet Witch at that moment.
Yeah, she had the Darkhold, they would have been over.
Yeah, and so now I'm curious of where she's going to be, because she's not dead. I know she's not dead.
So there's an interesting theory, and it's just a fan theory. So there's an event that happens. There's two events. So if you go and look it up, you'd have to, I think they're doing the second time it happened. It's called, so as you've seen, one of the movies one of the Avengers movies is called Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go and get these comics, the first Secret Wars happened in like 84, 85. And they were all transported, and by they, villains, the Avengers, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, they were all transported to a planet called Battle World, where they were supposed to fight each other, and the winner gets a free wish and everything. And that's not the one I think this movie is going to be based off of. The one that it's going to be based off of is the second Secret Wars, which came out in 2014, 2015. And I'm reading that one right now. I've read the other one. I read it earlier this week. I'm reading the second one right now. I'm only on one, but that covers an incursion between the the main universe, the 616 universe, and the Ultimate Universe. Now, the Ultimate Universe is the one where Miles Morales actually, that's the one where he exists.
Yeah.
And everything. That was the whole series. It didn't really go over that well because of like how they did with some characters and whatnot. But there's an incursion, which you've heard a lot in the MCU if you've been listening, if you've been watching the movies. But there's an incursion that happens between those two universes, and I don't know what's going to happen yet because I haven't read it all. But they're basically going to war with each other. They're fighting each other because it seems like one of their Earths is going to die, no matter what, or one of their universes is going to die. So basically, we're trying to fight to, to save our universe.
Well, and I think that's where the whole Planet Hulk is coming from, because I've seen a lot of talk pushing a Hulk movie and the whole Planet Hulk, and again, we've talked about how there's been certain things that have happened different in the comics compared to the movies, just like reading a book. Luke was talking about with Hunger Games last night, talking about how something happened in the book was different than how they did it in the movie. But like with Planet Hulk, all the Avengers go and try to kill Hulk because of what he's doing, and Hulk starts killing the Avengers, for the main part. But I don't know, I've seen all these, like, MCU's went ahead and did, like, not copyrights, it might be copyrights of like names of their movies coming out, but they have the Avengers Secret Wars, they have the Avengers Kang Dynasty, Captain America New World Order, the Thunderbolts, the Multiverse Saga, Avengers The Eternity War, Red Guardian, the Runaways, the Nomad, Hercules, a second Shang-Chi movie, Midnight Suns, the Black Knight, and then Avengers Excursion, Avengers Timeless, Avengers Academy, which is going to be the Young Avengers, and then another Captain America Red, White, and Black, and Celestials End of Time. So that's all the movies that are kind of looking at now. Luke, what's your take on all the different movies? Or from what you've seen? Hey, you're still muted.
As much as I love Marvel, and I'm excited to see all those movies, I just don't think I'll have as much love for them as I did for the Avengers and the Avengers series, because those were the characters that we kind of formed a bond with over the last 10 years. And so now most of them have moved on or are out of the series or were, kind of done. And these are all new characters that are kind of being brought in. So part of me is excited to see it. But part of me, it's like when you finished Harry Potter the first time, when you read all the books, and you're kind of at that moment like, man, that was so intense, and that was such a good series, and you're looking for that next book, and nothing that you read after that kind of has the same pizzazz to it.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't hit you the same way. And so I think that that's what it's going to be like for this next step for Marvel, is that, yeah, it's good, but is it as good as the originals?
Yeah. Ross, what about you?
I kind of got the opposite thinking there. Like, yeah, I mean, we did grow, I grew up, but watching these, when it started out with Iron Man, ended with Infinity War. But now we have a whole new slate of movies and TV shows that incorporate some of the older characters and a lot of new ones. New ones that, we're going to be watching for the next 4, 5, 6, possibly maybe even 10 years. Another 10 years of possibly movies and TV shows that have almost endless possibilities of what they can do with them at this point. You just mentioned the Midnight Suns. I mentioned that on Twitter not too long ago when sorry, my mind's going blank. Get a little tired, guys. When Moon Knight came out, I was like, oh, I said, so is this going to be the introduction of the Midnight Suns, which incorporates Ghost Rider, Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, and I think there's a couple more in there to have to go back and look, but which I was like, that's going to be awesome. The Avengers, 2 new Avengers movies are going to round out or close out Phase 6 in 2025. You know, I've heard some speculation like, well, I was like, in that close of time frame with 2 Avengers movies, and I hope they don't rush them and make them stinky. And I was like, I really don't think they're going to, because, you know, they've got quite a bit of time to make these movies.
Yeah.
But I mean, just a whole new storyline, really, and new characters that we didn't get in the first, phase of Marvel. Now I say first phase of Marvel, but the first 10 years and we're gonna get them now, and we have no clue about what really they're gonna do with it.
Yeah.
We have ideas, but we really just gotta wait and see and what they do. I'm excited for it, man. I love it.
I'm excited. Like, there's some of these guys that I have read the comics growing up, and I've known who they are. Even when I watch the movie, like let's say I'm watching Iron Man or Captain America, and a character comes on and they're like, they say their name, I'm like, ooh, that's that guy. That's that villain, but he's not villain in this movie. Or I'm like, oh, that's his best friend now, but he turns into kind of like the whole, Harry Osborn and how he turns, which we've seen in the movies, but usually you don't notice that. I'm like, oh, I wonder what they're going to do with his character. But has everybody seen the Eternals?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw the thing. So you know how that ends, and they kind of kill that big giant and stuff, and like its head and hand are sticking out of the ground. I saw a thing yesterday. I need to send it to y'all. So I was going to send it to y'all and I forgot. It says there have now been 3 Marvel movies that have taken place since the Eternals. Okay. And it says, and somehow no one has once mentioned how the Earth now has this dude sticking out of it. And it shows a picture of the guy and the part of his head and stuff. And I thought, well, that's fun. Yeah, that's true. So it's kind of like, but it's the same thing, like with when they try to talk about the multiverses. For a while I was thinking, well, Venom is eventually going to be in the Marvel verse, but Venom is in San Francisco, and that's where Ant-Man is. But no time have they ever come across where Ant-Man's like, there's some slimy dude that I fought, and same thing with the slimy guy knowing all this stuff. But now we see he's actually from a different multiverse. When you saw the end of Spider-Man, has everybody seen the new Spider-Man? Nope. Well, David, just plug your ears. But at the end, Luke and I saw that comment where Electro had looked at the Garfield Spider-Man and said, I was just hoping you were black. And so me and Luke looked at each other like going, that's Miles Morales, because he's hoping somewhere there's a black Spider-Man. But then we see in that cutout where Venom's in the bar and he's trying to put together that there's a guy in an iron suit that can fly, and there's a green guy that's mad and stuff like that. And there's a Spider-Man. He's like, well, we need to go meet this guy. But then he goes off. But yet there's a little bit of Venom material left. So I'm excited to see that.
Again, this is sort of a fan theory, but there is some speculation, potentially anyways. So they're definitely gonna kill off T'Challa in the Black Panther movie. Someone brought up him potentially dying, saving people from a flood, which I thought this would be pretty cool if this happens. And I don't know how, I don't think they'll show it or anything like that I don't think they're going to show him at all. But so the
Like it's just gonna be
the
talked about that he died.
possibly the Atlanteans. So the Atlanteans and the Wakandans, they are going to go to war with one another for a little while, and probably a misunderstanding of some sorts. But the Atlanteans are potentially going to flood the Wakandans. And that's how T'Challa might die, is like saving someone by even potentially putting the suit on someone to save them.
And then he dies.
So if they do that, if that's the route they took, then you could actually use, because if it's all a misunderstanding, a tragic misunderstanding, I think it would be wise to use the Eternals situation with the giant, with the Celestial, because that would have affected the oceans. That would have caused seismic issues, which could have felt like the Atlanteans were getting attacked by the Wakandans. Maybe some tragedy happens there, which that makes them want to retaliate against the Wakandans, and you kick off this whole matter. So that's some speculation. There's nothing concrete about that, but I think that would be the route that they would go if that's what they're going to do. And I think it would be a great kickoff to the whole movie, because you don't have to like, oh, well, now we've got to get revenge against, this giant mountain thing. You don't have to do that at all. Now you get to just overcome your differences with one another and everything. But that being said, too, Namor at times is a villain in the Marvel universe, or he's a sort of an anti-hero. So maybe they just make him just a straight up villain from here on out.
Well, I'm just like with what Luke said, I was a big Spider-Man and Iron Man, any kind of Wolverine fan growing up. So like, which Spider-Man's still going. Spider-Man's changed, just like Superman and Batman kind of. But then again, that's different multiverses as we've seen. But I think the movies are still going to be good. Like it does, it gives me like, I don't know anything about these characters or any kind of backgrounds so it's just that getting used to new characters, trying to find about them, because everybody knew how Spider-Man got his stuff. Everybody knew about Captain America. Everybody knew about Iron Man. So it's just things like that, but I'm still excited for it. I'm sure somewhere down the road, somebody's gonna make a cameo and bring back from a different multiverse, kind of like how they did with the Spider-Man's bringing back Osborn and Doc Ock and things. So, but all right, David, Luke, Ross, y'all have any other comments or anything about anything?
Not on that.
I could do
Yeah.
I'm
I
good.
have one.
What's up, Ron?
If you've watched the Wanda movie with the Multiverse of Madness movie, I think we should have just all listened to Wanda, hear her out. And if I was in that world, that's what I would have said. And I would have also said, since Vision's gone, do you need a stepdad? I'm not the stepfather. I'm the father that stepped up.
But yeah, I did really like that movie. It was good. I'm curious what we're going to see Doctor Strange next. Curious
She's
what we'll
not
see
dead.
that. Oh, yeah.
By the
I
way,
don't think
that's the fan theory I started talking about earlier and then just kind of stopped. Potentially she's going to be a major. Someone said that, or that was part of fan theory with the incursion event with the Secret Wars, that she potentially could be taking the role of another major character in that, because she has like some of the same abilities. So, but that's that's not the point. Yeah.
But all right. That's going to be it for this podcast. Everybody listening out there, appreciate y'all listening. You can, if you're listening to us now, like I said, you can listen on Spotify, numerous different things. You can also visit us on Anchor. and look at our questions, little community chats that we have. Ryan, Luke, Ross, David, thanks for joining. And listen for us for our next podcast coming out.